my kids' generation and lower, they don't necessarily participate in all this, and so. But overall, the analysis was that the survey, there was a pretty high degree of reliability. Then we went to the next assessment of how that breaks down. So I'll kind of cut to the chase for the purpose of what we're talking about. 33% were just flat out in favor of a bond, 15% were opposed, and 51% were conditional.
Ooh. Conditional on what?
I'll explain. So the conditional surveys had seven indicators of support. So ag lands was one, neighborhoods, native lands, and then in any land. There was trails, there was parks, and there was open space maintenance. So those were the 7 categories. And there were 2 things that Dave gleaned out of that we all kind of bought into as he went through it. And he's got subsets of his PowerPoint which go into pretty good detail about this that only really he can explain as the survey master. But there was a general lack of knowledge about bonding. So one of the answers to it being conditional is I don't know exactly what that means. And I would imagine that you found that time and time again. They're just a bunch of folks who kind of know what a school bond vote is, but anything other than that,
and what does it mean to me?
It doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. And how does that, they don't know what that is. So we're asking them in that's where we focus. We had 192 conditional votes. And of those, we eliminated in a statement that we would not support bonding money being used for open space maintenance. There are other tools in the toolbox and to borrow money to provide maintenance. So we just took that away.
Okay.
I suggested we take parks out of this mix because in Midway we have a Parks and Trails Committee. They have a source of funding, and I can see where a person at one extreme of what is called passive recreation in my old profession. Here's a bunch of land and here's some things to do and go out with your family and mess around. But in my book, when you start to add facilities and playground activities and tennis courts and picnic structures, and that's a different thing. You can charge for the use of that. It's in the maintenance budget of Midway.
Right.
We are over what is clearly average for a town our size with parks anyway.
Right.
Just because of who we are and some good thinking of our city fathers and mothers over the years. Anyway, so we got down to kind of these 5 categories: ag lands, neighborhood parks, meaning something that's close to you, that's kind of chunky and big, but it's in your neighborhood. Those 5 acres over there that the probe zone. Native lands, which was a term of non-development, probably some wetland, probably some critter habitat, bird habitat, maybe an old grove, some maybe or maybe not grazed. And then kind of that catch-all, any undeveloped lands. So in that then, one of the things that came out of that, right below $5 million was the support level among these 190 people for the $ of $5 million. We would support, we had a few people who would support none, and then as it got up, the bar chart shows kind of an expected average, people of my age, little more support, a little higher income probably and would be able to go ahead and pop for that, a little lower in the younger families. And then we also had, I don't have the map with me, but we distributed this by neighborhoods, around 8 neighborhoods around Midway. And you self-selected where you lived in that neighborhood. And it was kind of evenly divided among the town. We thought there'd be way more up at Belay and probably less down by the Probst property and in some of the older towns, and that wasn't necessarily the case at all. It wasn't widely, it didn't widely vary. Anyway, and so the land, or the conditional surveys supported around $5 million. And that's basically how we came down to $5 million. This was a conditional level, but if we were in the sweet spot of those 5 bars who said, I would support open space for one of these 5 categories as a minimum, and in some cases more, around $5 million was the sweet spot for that.
So what is your cost for $5 million in Midway, do you know?
Yeah, it was.
They've got it. You have it for sure.
Yeah.
They had a really good presentation.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and this was done by the consulting firm.
There we go. Wait a minute. Where are we?
Yeah.
And how much
So here's $5 million.
Oh, that's still the 95 then.
Yeah. Yeah.
95 per average home, but certainly that increases.
Yeah.
But that's per year for 20 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
So $95 per year.
For a $350,000 home.
Yeah.
Tax value.
Taxable value, but for $1 million, it's up to 271 a year.
So it's a primary residence. That's
Okay.
$600,000.
September, October. So you have your timeline here too.
Yeah. So what's going to happen Friday? Well, you're looking at that, or Wednesday.
It looks like the city wants to do their own pro argument. Can the city do that?
You can start with some statements, I'm told.
You can do, you
Going
have
through
to
the bond
do,
council.
you can do a pro. You're supposed to have a pro and an against.
Yes.
Yeah, but
The issue
the
is-
city can do it. They should not be promoting this bond
No, it should actually come, meaning you should
from a
have
random,
a rando person.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the bond council was saying. What I was going to say is Wednesday, in the Wednesday evening meeting, we have a work session at 10 to go through the council, with the council, all this.
This Wednesday?
This Wednesday at 10. And then that night, we're first on the agenda, the first action item on the agenda for this resolution. The second resolution is to hire a bond attorney.
Okay.
So those two are A, B. Anticipating your next question, no, I don't know if they'll vote for it. I was told by our city clerk that often in one of these kind of cases, the city will vote to contemplate or will not take action, so they can palaver on the side, and we're not too far. There's pressure, but
Let me see
yeah,
that again,
but
please.
we've still got some time in 1 or 2 council meetings to get the supermajority to go on the agenda. There may be some discussion also by the council in the evening meeting about the yet unsigned interlocal agreement. And
Oh, wait a
That
minute.
came
Is
up
that our
during that
interlocal
presentation.
agreement? They still haven't done that yet?
nope.
Oh, dear.
And
sorry, can we just
under
take
what
this real quick?
conditions, sure, under what conditions that would happen. I almost think that we may get sent out, and I don't know what we do about it, but we may get sent out to put a tighter fence around these 5 or 6 open space uses. To have another meeting that if people seemed conditionally support but without the definition, then you need to go back and take another bite of the public open meeting apple and get
Right.
to see if you can get people to nail that down more tightly. And we clearly use your language in comparison that the Wasatch County effort is ag lands and those things that are related to the big chunky pieces that we've talked about before. That is one of the differences that between the city and the county effort, is that there are multiple supports for more definitions.
I think you're more focused in the city too. You
Yeah.
just don't have as broad a swath of land types.
so what,
Yeah.
did you
It's different.
suggest what that $5 million can be spent on?
Partner with willing landowners, charitable land preservation organization, private owners, and foundations to preserve the relatively large tracts in perpetuity with no ongoing maintenance costs to the city.
Are you looking to outright purchases of land?
No.
You're just doing conservation easements too?
Yeah.
I thought you did a good job of straddling the fence on not necessarily being overt in the support, but really honing in on these reasons people should support it without you saying, and, you know, I thought you did a good job of
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're using your line that it'll take a year to get something done with a couple of potential partners. It isn't going to happen right away, and we're told that there's some individuals who would be very much interested in working, and oh, by the way, she kicked butt on her presentation, and this brother and sister,
Self-deprecating.
as I'm walking out, she's bent over the stage and writing stuff and handing them stuff with the classic partner for us, which is land-rich, cash-poor people who own a big, beautiful chunk of property. So
Right.
that alone may turn into something. We had, what, half a dozen of the heritage families there.
Oh, wonderful.
And I had a subsequent
That's
call
great.
from a family that wasn't there, but heard all about it.
Wonderful.
And I met
Wonderful.
with
We're
them,
talking about it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they said, what do we need to do this?
yeah.
So,
Did Tom and Linda Whitaker reach out at all, or they want?
Not at that meeting, but I have been providing them with some information. I'm trying to be careful because I know they're in an agreement with Dan Lester, and I don't want to get in the middle of that contract, although I've been talking to Dan as well, and mostly saying, oh, why did you do that? But, so I've been trying to be really careful, just, you know, here's some information to provide. And Dan has indicated that he'd like to see it protected, but he's got partners and he's got to make some money off of it. And so it's a little bit squishy as to what exactly he is going to propose from my perspective.
So
And whether it-
I was in the middle of that for a second,
Or yeah,
just for a second. Well, I know Tom and Linda fairly well. My partners
Okay.
represent Dan
okay.
Lester, so it's kind
Oh,
of
there you go,
back and
yeah.
forth. So I sat down with Tom and Linda at their farm one day, beautiful place.
Yeah.
Good.
But I told them I'm on the board, and I told them there was of the Wasatch Open Lands Board, and that there could be opportunities here, and that we should reach out, and sit down, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, I think the thing that's interesting
There's been ways to do this,
is just there are those properties, like Whitaker being one of them, that kind of are on the fringes of Wasatch County. And, you know, into the city.
Well, and that's the last thing I was going to mention. Unanswered, for the most part, and I'm sure it'll come up in the work session, and maybe a cause for hesitancy from the city council to go ahead, is this dual issue. So what we have talked about among us cousins is to see if we can craft some accurate, honest language that would state, if pigs flew and dollars had wings, here where we would collaborate together.
Mm.
So, as an example, West River, that's what do you call
So
it?
North
Not adjacent,
Hills.
but, well, it's adjacent to the city boundary, but what's the action word there? It's
Contiguous?
when you grab more property and bring it in.
The annexation.
Annexation.
Oh, it's within the
So
annexation boundary?
it's within the annexation boundary. So it's West River, there's half a dozen big landowners there. Whitaker's one of them. Of course, we had that scrap here in the county that I don't know anything about other than it was a scrap with the Kohler Dairy, and they're getting thrown into the county and different tax rates because he wanted to run as an expansion of his agri-business, and they wanted a commercial tax assigned to it. It was a scrap.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so that would be one case where that would be interesting to discuss. The other case, of course, is the boundary on the west side that sweeps around, where you've got one of two conditions. One would be land that's between the city of Midway and state parks, and it's
Right. How much
a
is
lot of
there?
people would say, if you're gonna hunt ducks where the ducks are, and that would be really good place ducks would be to connect to the park and maybe even deed it to them, like we did at Snake Creek. That's where we started talking. And there's chunky pieces of that. Then there are 3 or 4 big pieces that are not available to development because the zoning doesn't allow it because of the slope or the aspect or water or something like that. And an argument can be made that 20 years from now, as we have seen in other communities, that all of a sudden gets rezoned, and now all of a sudden it's the most pricey land in Utah. Let's do that and take care of the problem out there, even though right now it's a non-issue, but then it's going to be done. And as I understand it, you all correct me if I'm wrong, because I would know the least about it, but it's cheap now because there's no development rights on it, and so your money goes a long, long way.
Right.
And in 2 of the 4 cases, those are landowners who probably aren't as interested in the money as they are some other part of the deal that would go forward. So anyway, there's some sense, and I've pitched this to the mayor, that if we could get our 2 groups together and talk about what could we work on together with the 2 whatever million that might be coming Midway's way from a successful county bond. Right. And then a portion of the 5 million that would be just for Midway, and craft an argument that really laid out the 3 options. One would be that only the county bond passes, the next would be that only the city bond passes, and then the next would be they both pass. So we talk about the high and the low, and what would be some way to get public support and spread that around and maybe give Midway a running start. This would be part of it. I think we're a little ahead. And if at the front end of this 15 million, if Midway might be able to get their money more upfront than at the tail end, then combined with whatever money that we could probably get some things going.
I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, I'm just telling you what the interest would be.
Again, that's just my opinion, but are you saying 2 million out of the whole 15 million?
That'd be about our percentage.
Okay, because I was hoping it wouldn't be 2 million out of the first 5 million. That would be high.
Some plan where both parties are putting some money into joint efforts if there's if there is a successful vote.
I see what you're saying.
And then some, I guess, to clarify that misconception, that at the front end of Wasatch's money, if it passes, that some of that money go to that very thing in partnership with Midway.
There's some guarantee.
Well, I don't think you guarantee it, but I mean,
and
it's
there's no guarantee that we're going to get the whole 15 either.
Right.
I mean,
but this
we might only get 5.
Yeah.
Right.
If the county council and whatever configuration they are, and
but the
5 years or something when we may go out for the next 5,
right.
or inflation or the recession, another recession hits, or whatever reason, we might only get 5.
Yeah.
And you didn't bring up the fact that there could be a case where both of our bonds don't pass.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is one of those options that weren't mentioned.
Especially now with the $800,000 property tax increase that the county wants to do for school resource officers. That's a big chunk of their budget. I'm not quite sure what.
We got to get the numbers right, because the numbers actually.
Well, that's what I was hoping we were going to get tonight, because I thought I made it clear that we've got
I mean, you look
people out there giving bad information, part of which was our fault.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because we showed up in March to the county and didn't have the proper numbers. So then that gets multiplied in people's minds, and then we found out what it really was like a month ago, and we were so happy. But people are starting to talk about it without us, and so that's why we need to get.
We do. So
that's what Wendy's here for.
I can show you what we've, hijacked information from some of the stuff that you guys put out there, so it may look familiar. This is not live. There are 2 items that you might want to. So this would be a proposed website. And Justin, you're doing exactly what I always do when I get a handout, which is to look through it. So you can see, if you just browse through it really quickly, what we're aiming at. And then I can talk you through the issues within there and what we might want to do. Sorry, how do I do this?
Is it a new phone?
No, it's not a new phone, okay? And that is the problem. He doesn't know technology. In fact, the next thing I'm going to say is a really big deal for me. The search engine optimization for websites, right? So there isn't currently a website out there that says Wasatch County. So we're happy to host basically this page on Utah Open Lands if you guys think that would help with the search engine optimization. We can also obviously link and all of those other things. What we want to do is we want to buy a domain name. If we're going to do a website, we got to buy a domain name that's going to be easy for people to just plug right in.
Right, and remember.
Right, so is it Wasatch Open Space?
Yeah, it's cheap.
It is.
Yeah, it's going to have, you want it to have the right terms in it that people are going to type in, right? That's what Google.
Yeah, and we know how to do that. We know how to do all of those sorts of things, but it does take some. I mean, I had someone in my office that's what they do all day long. Is they go and they tag it. So
WasatchOpenSpaceBond.com,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better to have a .org.
Or .org, yeah. For
it, but so we can do that. We did the Bonanza Flat. We did a Facebook page, and I just don't. It just doesn't. I don't know why if you've got Facebook pages, whether it's Midway or Wasatch County or some of these other folks who are linked into what's going on here, then that'd be great. So up at the top you'd have the Wasatch Open Space Bond, and then you'd have, meetings as a fall down tab, and we populate that with meetings. So for example, I'm doing a landowner meeting in conjunction with NRCS on June 27th. It's not going to be open to the public because we want to just talk to landowners. But I think it will be a good way to correct some of the misinformation that is out there. So then the bond updates, I don't know that there will be many bond updates other than here's a meeting that's going forward where the council's going to consider putting it on the ballot.
I know this, I'm already giving input.
No, go for it. That's what it's for.
Instead of bond updates, why don't you just say quick videos or something like that? You could put all your videos in there.
Wouldn't that be under Q&A though?
No, that's just, here's a question, here's the answer. Here's a question, here's the answer. I'm thinking if there are a few production videos that are done,
so
bond financing 101 or, that kind of thing, and just a little 2-minute videos that people can watch.
Well, so
I swear they don't have.
I still think that what we do is maybe have bond updates, and then underneath that would be, video, or quick videos would be under that, as well as, next council consideration or something like that, is my only thought.
Yeah, because I don't know if there's, they've already voted on it, right? They don't have to vote on it again, the council.
No.
So we're done.
They don't have to do any of that?
No, they already voted on.
So then maybe we take this out completely, it's just the quick videos is fine.
Yeah, because I think people like videos. If somebody can explain it, school district did this last time. Here's why we need $62 million for 2 schools and a pool.
Okay.
And they just went through the quick thing of why we need this. I mean, sometimes that's all they're going to watch before they vote. They're not going to read all this.
Can you back up a step, Tracy?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we had talked about that there had to be a supermajority vote.
I thought so too.
Supermajority vote of what?
5 of 7 for the county. It's got to go back to a vote because they only had 4-3.
I don't think so.
Somebody mentioned that too, but it's never come from anyone that I never checked the source.
Okay.
I got the impression it was a done deal.
I was too, I'm just not, I just haven't heard that, sorry.
Okay.
I guess you'll find out what
Heard
the
the same
Midway
thing
City
before.
Council does there, perhaps, you can ask
Yeah.
there.
So then the other thing, and it shouldn't have said agricultural heritage, it's supposed to say Wasatch Open Land Board. So it would have your names up at the top. And then the questions and answers, and I haven't put in the answers yet, but you'll see, because I want to get all the questions. But
No, that's fine.
So basically, this November, Wasatch County residents will be asked to authorize a $15 million open space bond for preservation of open space throughout the county. The bond will be issued in $5 million increments. So you can read that at your leisure. We got to get, this is the best tax impact information that I had, so if that changes, or if we need something else, then we need that.
And that's per 5 million, right? The 1238.
But these aren't right.
Okay.
I don't believe these are right. I've been asking, and I thought we were going to get that information tonight.
Yeah, I've been asking for the same information ever since I saw Midway is. I went to
Yeah.
Cortland's presentation, got that handout, and was like, whoa, 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 we're way off.
Right.
You know, Samsonite.
Yeah.
And then we've been asking, but we've never. Didn't Steve say they'd retained bond counsel for the county, or the county has bond counsel?
Well, see, that's the thing, when I look at what you gave us, Cortland, on the numbers, it was prepared by BOM. That BOM was a bond counsel.
They are bond counsel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then why is it you need to get another one?
Here's what happens with that, as I understand.
Okay,
They pitch their services pro bono at the front end. So they show up and they say, there's 3 or 4 firms that do this.
They'll do legwork.
And they'll run around, and at some point, they've got to have a contract. And their contract covers their,
They get paid on the
So
loan.
at the front end, and they get paid on the passage of the bill. And then there are additional costs that you can charge them if you want a survey, if you want some research, what was done in some county in Oregon, then they can go off and do all that work. So there's a fee for service plus an overall charge.
okay, so it's
And
not
they
that
have
our...
bond counsel. It's a one-stop shop. Like, you go to them and they'll pull it all together.
Right,
The county doesn't use them.
So-
Because I brought that to Steve and said, these guys are great. You know,
Yeah.
They've got all these numbers, let's do this. They have the county has a relationship with somebody else.
right.
That's who we were supposed to meet with tonight, I thought. And they were gonna, because the presentation that we have for Midway, that's just
true,
for
we
Midway,
haven't-
that's not
we
for the
haven't met with
county.
them yet,
No,
have
we
we?
haven't.
The numbers will be very different for the county.
Right. So I'm just wondering if our numbers are going to change,
I'm sure
They
they
are,
will.
depending on when
And we just need to
hire.
get them to Wendy if
Yeah.
we want it to be part of this.
So this
Right,
isn't
it's
gonna
gotta
go,
be correct
this
stuff.
isn't gonna go live, because quite frankly, without the numbers, and that's what people are gonna turn to.
That's what
And
I'd
if
look
people
at
don't
first.
find this website informational, then they won't come back, and we don't want that. So what I would suggest, instead of me going through all of these.
No, we know what that says.
Is to
That's
figure it
okay.
out. The only thing is, so we do have, and we're working on some changes. I played the rough cut of the video at the Midway meeting. We have some landowners talking about why they protected open space. And then along with it is kind of the narration that we didn't have the Midway meetings. I was there, but we would have the narration of how conservation easements work. And then just, if you take a quick look, just so that I can get ahead of things. So questions and answers, will the county or another entity condemn my land if the bond passes? I've heard that, so I
I
think
know.
we should address that. Do I still own the land? Address that. Will my land be open to the public? Address that. Can I sell my land? What happens if I stop farming? Does passing the bond save all the open space residents want saved? I don't want the market value of my home to increase. Will the bond increase it even more?
See, I think what your emphasis here on those questions and answers is the